What's up, everybody? Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast here with another delicious episode of Second Breakfast. Copyright pending. And just in case you're not sick and tired of listening to Monster talk about Metallica, I've got another Metallica-centric episode for you because as of right now, the date of recording this is June 2nd, 2025. My wife and I went and saw Metallica on the 72 Seasons tour May 31st. So today is Monday, that was Saturday. Still nice and fresh in my mind. And I wanted to give you guys sort of a rundown of how it went. Mostly positive stuff. Do have a little bit of negative stuff, but we'll get there. So basically, super long story short, if you listen to the Ride the Lightning stuff, talk about my brother a lot. My brother's diehard Metallica fan. And for his birthday, so when these tickets went on sale, the original plan was, let's all go. And finances kind of got in the way. And it was very much like, well, we'd all like to go, but no one can afford it. So as the concert grew nearer, we started to look at tickets and stuff. And my brother's wife came up with a cool idea that maybe some of us could pull some money together and get him a ticket for his birthday. And things were looking a little better on my end of things. So I said, why don't you throw in a ticket for me and the wife as well? So we all ended up going. Unfortunately, because we waited so late to get tickets, we weren't right beside each other. It was like my brother, his wife, and one of her kids, and then like maybe 4 or 6 people, and then me and my wife. But it was still cool, like in between bands, we would talk and hang out and stuff. So all good there. And so my brother, being the diehard fan, the concert was at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, which if you're not from North Carolina, that's where the Carolina Panthers play football. So that stadium holds like 80,000 people. So needless to say, it was wide ass open. So whenever they announced that the doors were at 4 and the show would start at 6, my brother was like, I'm getting there at 3. So they left super, super early. My wife and I, we have a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old daughter. And on Saturdays, the 3-year-old has gymnastics and dance class, and the 6-year-old has soccer. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get down there quite so early. We left around 3:30 or so. Now, I'll be honest with you. The lineup was Suicidal Tendencies, Pantera, and then Metallica. And I don't want to fly away by making the quotation marks with my fingers every single time I say Pantera, so I'm not going to do it. But just in your mind, picture quotations around Pantera, and I'll explain why in a minute. So we knew the doors were at 4, show at 6. We left at 3:30. Charlotte does not, 85 South always has some problems. So the wife and I kind of expected that, but we weren't real keen on seeing Suicidal Tendencies. And I wasn't super keen on seeing Pantera. My wife just wanted to see Metallica. She's not a huge fan of any of these bands, honestly, but to see Metallica is a spectacle in and of itself. So she wanted to go for sure. But so Metallica is why we were going. The other two were just there. So anyway, we get going, and of course we run into some crazy traffic. There was some wreck on 85 where 3 lanes were shut down. It was a mess. Now, once we finally got into Charlotte, we were very fortunate that we found parking literally right outside the stadium. It was $50 freaking dollars to park, which is a little wild, but nevertheless, we're used to that now, so we got it. So anyway, we walk into the stadium, super chill, super easy, walk straight in, not a problem. And after we get in, we start looking around like, okay, let's check out the merch, let's maybe get a drink, that kind of thing. The merch lines were so long that they were like, the back ends from the different sections were like almost touching each other. Like it was outrageous. So I was like, you know what? I want some shirts, but I'm not going to do that. We'll wait till it dies down a little bit. by the time we got there, Suicidal Tendencies had already started, and I think by the time we got to our seats, they were done, which is okay. But anyway, so, we're kind of walking around. We get to our seats, and my wife, I tell you, man, my brother put it perfectly. I have the world's greatest wife, because here's what she did. When Pantera started, she said, if you want, I'll go stand in the merch line and get you your shirts. And I said, that would be wonderful. I really do appreciate that. She missed the entire Pantera set and didn't get back to her seat till like right before Metallica started. She was in line for an hour and a half to buy t-shirts. Now, I get it. This is a football stadium. There's like 75,000 people in this arena. Of course there's going to be long lines. But there's like 6 or 8 different merch booths and like 3 or 4 people working at all of them. And it's like, okay, maybe you need a few more people working these booths if this is what it's going to be like. I felt so bad. Thankfully, she had her phone with her. She was doing some online shopping. She was chatting it up with some people in line with her. So she was cool about it. And I sincerely appreciate it. Babe, I love you very much. I've told her 100 times. She's sick of hearing it, but I really, really do appreciate it. However, after she stood in line that long time, so people listening can't see it, but I'm wearing one of the shirts. It's black and it says Metallica in yellow and it has like a picture of the band sort of in shadow. And on the back, it's supposed to say 72 Seasons Tour and have the dates. Well, they misprinted it. So the only large they had left didn't have the tour dates on the back. So I just have the front. It's still super cool. For me, it was the coolest design they had because everything else was just kind of like skulls and, and it was like, okay, cool. I like the ones with the band. So be it. And then the other one she got me, it did have the tour dates. It did have a cool picture on the front. They didn't have it in large anymore. So she had to give me an extra large. So after standing in line for like an hour and a half, that's what ended up happening. But I digress. It's okay. I'm not mad about it. So let's start with Pantera. I miss Suicidal Tendencies, so I don't have anything to say there. But Pantera, I am very on the fence about them calling this thing Pantera. If you've listened to the show a few times, you know I'm a fan of the band. And for me, Sorry, I had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. I'm not sure if you heard a skip or something, but anyway, what I was trying to say was I'm very much on the fence about the whole Pantera thing. And here's why. Now, with Linkin Park, I was originally a little bit on the fence as well, but then, I came to accept Emily and the changes, and I'm cool with them using the name Linkin Park. With Pantera, it's a little bit different because in my mind and heart, Pantera is the Abbott brothers, Vinny and Dime. And having a band without those two and calling it Pantera just seems weird. And it wasn't like the Chester thing where, Linkin Park was still together and then, he died. This was a little different because Vinny and Dime kind of shut the band down and they were on to other projects, And so I feel really weird calling what I saw Pantera. I thought they should have called it one of two ways. You can either call it Vulgar Display of Pantera or Vulgar Display of Power. Just call it by the album title. But anyway, I get why they do it. I understand the business side of it. So what I will say is there's only one man that could play guitar in that position if it's not going to be Dimebag, and that's Zakk Wylde. And so I'm okay with that part of it. And with that being said, I was pleasantly surprised by Pantera. Phil's voice, for as old as he is and as much as his throat and voice have changed over the years, I thought he did a very serviceable job. The rest of the band was fine. Of course, Zach killed it. Rex Brown, I can't believe he's still alive. He looks like a skeleton. And I can never remember the drummer's name, but he's played with Ozzy and Anthrax and all kinds of bands, and he was fine. He did really good too. So, but they sounded good. They were pretty tight. Yeah, so I'm glad I got to sit through Pantera. It was not the dumpster fire I was afraid it could have been. I'm still funny about calling it Pantera, but you know what? It is what it is, and I'm glad I saw it for what it was. So then they do, the set changes and everything. And if you haven't seen what Metallica's stage setup is for this tour, it's genius. So what they've done is they basically set up the stage. It's like a great big donut right in the middle of the stadium. So not only is it a circle and there you can have a crowd the whole way around it, but they cut out the center and they call that the snake pit. I don't know how much tickets for that are. You probably have to be in the fan club and pay $1,000 or some nonsense. But that was also slammed full of people. And the way the stage, it's not just a circle, it actually has these grooves that go up and down. And so, like Pantera had a drum set on either side of it, so they could like go from one side to the other. Well, when Metallica plays, Lars' drum kit moves and it comes up out of the stage in like 6 or 8 different areas. So regardless of where you're at on that circle, inside or out, they're going to be right in front of you at some point. So I got the set list pulled up here. I'll go ahead and tell you, just get this out of the way. They sounded incredible. You could tell they were having fun. It was a good set list. I'm not going to say it was like amazing, but they played some pretty cool stuff. But the sound was great. And like I was telling my wife, it's really cool to see them at their age, at this stage in their career, smiling and laughing and engaging with the crowd. I thought that was really cool. So here's the set list. If you've never seen Metallica live, the first thing they do is they play It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll by AC/DC. Don't know why, but that's always the song they play. That's like all right, everybody, Metallica's coming, get back. And then they play The Ecstasy of Gold, which is Morricone, I think is how you pronounce it. It's like a Western song that you probably have heard before, even if you don't think you have. So that's all the intro stuff. And then they come out with this 1, 2, 3 punch of, ironically enough, Ride the Lightning tracks. They played Creeping Death, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Ride the Lightning all back to back to back. And thought, that's a fire way to start a show, for sure. And then they go into something a little bit more, I can't remember if it was Load or, I think it was Reload. They played The Memory Remains, which is a cool one. And they actually do this like little jam thing at the end of it that I thought was fun. So then they played a couple of newer songs. They played Lux Eterna, which is off of 72 Seasons, and then Screaming Suicide, which I think is 72 Seasons, but it might have been Death Magnetic. Yeah, I can't remember. But either way, those two are more new. But the crowd was enjoying it, and that was good. So then they did this thing where like James and Lars went off the stage, and Kirk and Rob just goofed off, I guess. They kind of quote unquote jammed. Rob said the song was called Devil's Lettuce, and it was basically Kirk and Rob stomping around the stage playing power chords, and it was fun. I mean, I'm not real sure exactly, other than James and Lars probably just wanted a break. But when they came back, they played The Day That Never Comes, which is a great song. And this is really cool. So after that song's over, James is just kind of hanging out, noodling, kind of like a little bluesy guitar thing, kind of chilling. And then kind of pauses and then goes, "Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I..." And when he kicks in, just fire shoots up from the stage, and then this great big like firework, pow, like with all these sparks and stuff. It was gnarly. That was really cool. So after Fuel, they played Orion, which after Orion, they dedicated that to Cliff Burton, which I thought was really cool. Jumping back to Pantera, one of my favorite Pantera songs is called Cemetery Gates. Now, they didn't play Cemetery Gates, but what they did do was they showed a video of Vinny and Dime just being themselves, hanging out and being cool, while Cemetery Gates played behind it. And so a little tribute to them, which I thought was nice. And also on the kick drums, he had 2 kick drums. One had Vinny's face and one had dimes. So that was a nice touch. So back to Metallica. After Orion, they go into Nothing Else Matters. And what was funny was, here in North Carolina, it has rained every single day for what feels like the past 7 years. And so leading up to this, we were kind of like nervous, like, God, please let it stop raining. Well, when they started doing Nothing Else Matters, it actually did start to like drizzle. It didn't last long, but it was cool. Everybody knows that song, and it was kind of appropriate that it would kind of get dark and rainy during that one song. But then after that, they did Sad But True. They did One. They did Seek and Destroy. And what was cool is before, right as Seek and Destroy kicked in, all these big ass Metallica beach balls fell out of the stanchions that they had around the stage. And so that was pretty cool. These beach balls going everywhere and people tripping and stuff. It was fun. And then they ended the set with Master of Puppets and Enter Sandman. So not a bad set. A little on the nose as far as like the quote unquote hits go. Being someone that is more familiar with some of their deeper cuts, my brother especially, you know, it's one of those things. It's like every time I see 311, they're going to play Amber. They're going to play Down. Do I really want to see them play Amber and Down anymore? Not really. But every show is somebody's first show. As a matter of fact, during the set, James even said, how many people are here for their first Metallica show? And I mean, just crazy amount of people screamed. And then he said, how many people are here for your second, third, fourth? And again, tons of people screamed. And then James made a joke. He's like, a lot of the people yelled for both of those questions. So who knows? And so after the set, they get done playing, and for the next, 20 minutes, they just walk around the stage, throwing out guitar picks, talking to people right down in the front. They, every one of them took the microphone before they left the stage and just said how appreciative they were, how much they love the fact that people still love them the way they do. And it was a really sweet moment. And it was, like I told my wife, it's really cool to see them doing that, because it looked like they genuinely wanted to be there. I see some of these bands that the guys are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever it may be, and you can tell they're on the road because they have to be, because they don't make money if they don't. Metallica doesn't need to make any more money. They're pretty much set, but they're doing this because they love to do it. And so you could really feel that watching the show. So I'm very glad I got to go. It was kind of a last minute thrown together thing, but I'm glad my brother got to go. I'm glad I got to go. And so the biggest takeaways were, quote unquote, Pantera was better than I expected, but I still don't like them using the name. And Metallica, they are still as good as they ever were. And if you've never seen Metallica live, just do it. Even if you're like, I don't like them, I've only heard 5 songs, I don't like any of them, go see it. You still should see Metallica live if you can. So anyway, this is Monster telling you all about his Metallica concert experience. This will probably be the last Metallica thing we talk about for a little while, just so we don't get on everybody's nerves. But so thank you for tuning in. If you have any, if you went to any of these Metallica shows, what did you think? They change up the set list every night, so maybe you got a couple different songs that were kind of cooler, or you really wish they would have played Orion and I saw it and you didn't. So just, if you got any feedback, let me know. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and hope you have a great day.